Admiral Kexer stood on the bridge of his ship after the stars had been silent for 3,000 years. Flagship peering through his biohips crystal walls at the limitless emptiness. The ship's living walls breathed with a cadence that was older than most civilizations, and it pulsed softly around him, proud of what his people had accomplished throughout the cosmos. The Zahirian Empire spanned 17 worlds, each of which was their ships, a flawless gem in their crown of conquest, glided across space, like elegant fish, propelled by technology that combined metal and flesh to create something stunning and lethal. No other species had ever faced them. Species having the ability to confront them. Kexer made contact with the control surface. The spacecraft instantly responded, displaying to him reports from all throughout the Empire that trade was everything, was as it should be, with the mining colonies generating rare metals on time and the movement between the core worlds being seamless, should be in their ideal galaxy. But a gentle ding alerted him to a recent report. In the Outer Rim, scout ships discovered another primitive world. It was green and blue and revolved around a yellow star. Initial scans revealed industrial activity, but nothing noteworthy. Just another juvenile species experimenting with fire. Sub-Commander Nara Kextar of unrefined metals called to his, lowered her graceful head as the second in command, led a small fleet to study these new world standard protocols. If these nascent species occasionally exhibit potential, should we get ready for integration or elimination? Make helpful servants. Kexer waved the issue away after witnessing hundreds. In the end, all of the primitive worlds spread out across the galaxy were the same. It was a completely different day for Captain Jake Murphy, who stood on the USS Dakota's bridge, a huge vessel constructed in the orbital yards above Mars with its strong armor plating and angular, vicious appearance. The vessel appeared to be bristling with weaponry. "Captain, we're getting strange readings from the outer sensors," the report said, referring to a war-related machine. "Something large is moving close to the system's boundary," Lieutenant Amy Foster from her station said, and Jake moved to look. At the shows that, although the values were low, there were unquestionably faster-moving objects than anything organic, taking routes that seemed to indicate intelligence. That appeared that first contact was finally occurring after 15 years of preparation. Jake instructed me to contact Admiral Rivers on the command channel and begin preparing the armament systems, in case that since humanity first advanced more quickly than light. The Earth Defense Force had prepared for this moment. Earth's leaders had learnt from their own violent past that when people eventually encountered extraterrestrials, they would not be on board the USS Montana. Jake's report was delivered to the unarmed Admiral Kate Rivers. The enormous Dreadnought, the newest and most potent vessel in the human fleet, was 2 kilometers long and equipped with rail cannons that could around her. 300 other spacecraft of varying sizes are surrounded by particle beams, hot enough to melt steel and punch through a mountain. All ships. This is Admiral Rivers getting ready for humanity's first encounter with another sentient species. Broadcast to the fleet: remember your training, hope for peace, but be prepared for what we've been waiting for over the past 15 years. Lisa Santos, the commander of the USS Liberty, one of Earth's new superpowers, checked her systems. Since they had all grown up hearing stories, Dreadnought's crew was anxious but prepared about the conflicts between humans and how their species almost wiped itself out. They would discover whether that difficult insight would benefit them among the stars before they eventually learned to cooperate. As the alien contacts intensified on their sensors, the human fleet formed up. Earth's industries had been building ships and weaponry using lessons learnt from generations of human warfare while working non-stop for years. Ship bore the anxieties and hopes of 8 billion people who had never laid eyes on an alien. While sub-commanders with nonchalant assurance, the scout fleet approached the peculiar system. Her bioships were artworks that had been grown, wraithed and constructed, molded, and refined throughout millennia by genetic engineering. The 5 initial scans were completed as the spaceships moved in perfect unison, their crystal hulls catching the light of the nearby star. Stated that the third planet has indications of an industrial culture, including rudimentary metal structures. According to her sensor officer, prehistoric chemical rockets in orbit give the impression that space exploration is still in its infancy. Valnara nodded. This young species was just what she had anticipated when it first ventured outside of its home world. It would be terrified by the sight of the Zephyrian cruisers, but that was common fear which frequently served as a springboard for wisdom. To prepare the conventional integration, the procedures she mandated start with an assertion of our superiority. Then her communications officer triggered the translation to give them the opportunity to become a client species of the Empire systems, and started crafting the message, which had been effectively applied to numerous other worlds. The pattern was consistently demonstrate overwhelming force, demand compliance, and then mentor the new Neither fleet completely comprehended what they were going to do: move species into their rightful place in the galactic order. Previously, the Zephyrians had never encountered a species that might rival their technological capabilities or thwart their growth. Since they had dominated the cosmos for so long, it seemed unlikely that there could be any real opposition, and humanity were unaware that while Earth was still recuperating from its previous ice age, they were going to confront an empire that had subjugated star systems. They would do everything in their power to protect their land because they just knew that extraterrestrial ships were approaching. The setting was set for a meeting between two very different civilizations, both confident that would permanently alter the cosmos. As they approached a collision that neither could completely predict, the stars themselves appeared to hold their breath while the sub-commander observed the slowly closing distance between the fleets. The human spacecraft appeared crude and ugly to her, with sharp angles, while the rudimentary metal ships grew larger on her screens. She was reminded of the antiquated battle machines her people had abandoned thousands of years ago by their heavy armor plating. "How many vessels are we detecting?" she asked her after they discovered that they could expand their ships rather than create them. Sub-commander, extra sensor officer, around 50 ships in the immediate vicinity coming from farther down the system, and their biggest ships seemed to be about 2,000 meters long. Belnara was the majority of primitive species were only marginally impressed, as their largest structures could only span a few hundred meters. Beings shown greater potential than normal. Perhaps they could contribute to the Empire in some way after all. She directed the standard integration protocol to be used as the communication channel for the message that was sent across space. Had been developed during centuries of successful conquests by Zephyrian diplomats. The translation machine was intended to be straightforward and easy enough for even the most undeveloped minds to understand. The message started: "You have been handling the language barriers primitive species of the third planet, chosen for incorporation into the Zephyrian Empire. Immediately halt all military operations and get ready to receive our politicians' opposition. Your civilization will be completely destroyed. You have one of Jake Murphy, your planetary rotations." To comply, Captain gazed at the translation on his screen. The USS Dakota's bridge became silent around him as the crew took in the alien command. The first words from Lieutenant Amy Foster stated that there was another sentient species in the universe and that they demanded surrender. "Are they really threatening to destroy our entire civilization?" Jake asked quietly, nodding sadly. "Looks like they're getting." Admiral Kate Rivers read the alien to me as soon as we boarded the USS Montana. Message with increasing rage. She had hoped for amicable communication, but these aliens appeared to believe that people would just stand around and embrace slavery since they had miscalculated the species they were interacting with at every ship's fighting station. She said to the fleet, "We'll give them free weapons if they want to fight." Destroyers and cruisers moved as the human fleet started to disperse into combat formation in one they won't soon forget. Gunports opened along the corridors of the middle line as the enormous Dreadnoughts assumed flanking positions. The sun scowled as she saw hundreds of spacecraft displaying the weaponry that humanity had spent 15 years honing. Seen the rudimentary ships start to move. Their motions were actually highly advanced, demonstrating a degree of she had not anticipated. The tactical reasoning: perhaps they required a more dramatic display of Zahirian superiority objective. She ordered their biggest ship to fire a warning shot across their formation. Close enough to demonstrate the capabilities of our weaponry, but not close enough to cause harm. As their biological weapon systems charged, the Zephyr and biocruisers started to glow.